Did you know that 90% of the women I work with have no idea how to feel their emotions? They have spent their whole lives ignoring their feelings and stuffing them down with food for a whole list of reasons. Can you relate to this at all? If so, you are probably holding back and toughening it up when life gets hard, avoiding at all costs feeling any difficult, challenging, or negative emotions. Then it's no wonder you're still stuck in unhealthy habits with food and sugar. Because ultimately, our relationship with our emotions, it has a very direct connection to our relationship and our addictive patterns with sugar. And once you understand this link and this importance of needing to feel in order to heal, then the question that I get is, how do I actually learn to feel again? I get this question all the time from my clients, and is a massive part of the journey we navigate together in my upcoming 8-week emotional empowerment program. Because ultimately, learning how to reconnect to our emotions and process emotions so we're no longer turning to food to binge out when life gets hard is tough work. And it takes a lot of practice and nuance and various tools that I'm so excited to be teaching inside the upcoming program. Now, that being said, I'm also excited to announce for anyone who wants to get a taste test and dive deeper than we're going to be able to do in this episode today. I'm so excited to be hosting my grand finale full day emotional eating masterclass on May 11th that is completely free to join. This is going to be a full day deep dive into uncovering the root causes of your addictive patterns with sugar and actually kicking these emotional eating and addictive patterns in a way that lasts from the inside out. Now, if you've ever attended one of my live trainings before, you know that my teaching style is radically different than anything else that you've probably attended out there. Because not only am I going to be sharing some very important knowledge and wisdom around really what's going on under the surface at the root of these challenges with sugar and with food, but we're actually going to be focusing on doing the work together. So I'm going to be leading you and guiding you through various somatic exercises, helping you reconnect with your body, helping you reconnect to your emotions, and helping you create a crystal clear roadmap and action plan so that when you leave that masterclass, you are going to know exactly what your next steps are to really heal and get off of this darn food struggle roller coaster for good. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, come and register, join us. The link is in the show notes below, of course, and come and get your name on the wait list for the upcoming program if that's something you're also interested in. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's incredible episode. Welcome to the Beyond Sugar Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Dame, holistic nutrition coach and speaker. Let's dive in. Alrighty, welcome back to another episode here on the Beyond Sugar Freedom podcast. I am just buzzing with excitement for today's topic because this is something that I could talk about forever, is really this deep conversation about relating to our emotions and healing the emotional wounds that we all carry. In the work that I've been doing with women for the past 9 years, I have seen that this is one of the most prevalent root causes that is really driving your sugar addiction, your dependency on processed food, these cravings, the late night snacking, just this whole dysfunctional relationship that we have with food really deeply stems from our emotions, and more specifically, our dysregulated nervous systems. I mean, they're very closely tied together. So in this episode, I want to give all of you a little bit of a teaser, a little bit of an intro into what we're going to be diving really deep into in the upcoming emotional empowerment program, actually walking you step by step through, anybody who wants the accountability and the support. And of course, at the upcoming free live emotional eating masterclass that's kicking off on May 11th, we will be actually I'm going to share some tools during that free masterclass on the 11th with all of you to really begin putting into practice what I'm actually sharing on the podcast today. So this is your little taste test and your reminder to come and join us in the masterclass if you want to go deeper and you want to actually be guided into how to begin connecting to your feelings again. Now, before we get into answering that exact question, and I know this is something that almost every one of my clients ask me, as we start understanding why it's so key and so important for our mental health, our physical health, breaking up with sugar, to actually learn how to connect to our body, and in that connect to our emotions. Once we start learning that, we start to really face the truth, as I mentioned in the little intro, that most of us have no idea how to do that. We have no reference as to how to feel. We've never been taught how to feel. No, quite the contrary. We have been taught how to avoid our feelings. We've been taught that feeling is not okay. It's not safe. It's not welcome. Shut up and be a good girl. Be quiet. We've been stifled since childhood, and this is a major problem. So I want to start this episode by really sharing a bit of a deeper understanding, if you're not yet familiar with why the heck it is so deeply important, and a very, very important key to breaking free from sugar, to actually learn how to feel. Now, when I say learn how to feel, I want you to also hear connect to your body, because they're one and the same. As soon as we start building a relationship with our body and with this somatic sensations in our body, we immediately begin creating a relationship with our emotions. So they go hand in hand. This work is beautifully done together. When we start really learning about our nervous system, we really start learning about the wounds that we still carry, that are still stored in our body. All of this is body-centered work. So all of this really can be encompassed by an overarching guidance of saying we need to get out of our heads and into our body. And this is so much easier said than done, right? Which is why I'm going so much deeper into this and sharing some actionable tools with all of you at the upcoming master class. Because me just sitting here saying, get out of your head and get into your body, anybody who's ever tried to meditate, right, knows how impossible it is to turn the brain off, right? Knows how impossible it is to really shut the thoughts off and to be fully present in the present moment. So this can be difficult work. This can take a lot of practice, does take a lot of practice, a lot of commitment, and a lot of support. So why is it so important to feel? Okay. I'm going to summarize this. There is so many amazing books and researchers and scientists and doctors and psychologists who have spoken a lot better to this than I'm going to be able to. So I'm summarizing all of that. The works of, When the Body Keeps the Score, various works of Gabor Mate, a lot of amazing researchers and thought leaders who have uncovered this deep energetic connection that really are our emotions. And for those who have never heard this before, right, emotions are just energy in motion. So when we have an emotion arise, which is a signal from our nervous system based off of something that's happening in our life or a thought that we may be having, these emotions start to arise. And they can be thought of as high vibrational emotions and low vibrational emotions and everything in between. High vibrational emotions being things like love and joy and happiness and just extreme ecstatic feelings. And then on the other end, the really low, heavier emotions that many of you mislabel as negative emotions are things like grief, hate, anger, right? Some of these are really, really heavy. Shame, super heavy, super toxic emotion that gets stuck in our bodies. Now, when we understand what emotions are, we also begin to understand that the vibration and energy of an emotion that moves through our body is meant to do just that. It's meant to move through our body. It's not meant to get stuck. And this is what's happening. And this is causing a lot of problems, right? Emotions are meant to show up, arise, and flow out. And sometimes that happens instantaneously. Sometimes that takes 3 weeks or months in terms of like really big grief, for example. So there's no timeline with emotions, but they're meant to move, right? Energy in our body is not meant to get stuck. For anyone has any reference around maybe the chakra system, for example, right? We can often get so much energy stuck in these energy centers in our body, and it can lead to actual physical, emotional, and energetic problems and diseases in our body. Now, when it comes to emotions, the Heavy and low vibrational emotions are the ones that often get stuck the most, but not always. We can have high vibrational emotions stuck as well. For example, many of us have a really hard time allowing ourselves to feel joy, allowing ourselves to feel happy. So if there's some of that arises and we stuff it down, we stop it. There's this subconscious loop of this is not okay to feel, stop it. And in that, we immediately put a wall up, a brick wall around these emotions. Now, for most of us, 90% of what we're doing is actually stopping the heavy emotions. And again, I'm using the term heavy here instead of negative emotions. I want you to get rid of that vocabulary because all emotions are absolutely vital parts of being a human being. None of them are better than others, worse than others, shouldn't be felt. And the word negative really encompasses that we shouldn't be feeling these things. That's not true. You should absolutely be feeling heavy emotions. It's part of your human experience. Now, when we go ahead and subconsciously put these block walls or brick walls up when a heavy emotion starts to arise, which is a survival mechanism that we all developed in childhood. For one reason or another, we were not allowed to feel our emotions, and it was not safe to feel our emotions. So we learned how to protect ourselves. We learned to take a deep breath and suck it up. And when we do that, the energy of these sort of heavier, low vibration emotions is getting stuck in our cells. I want you to think of these heavy, low vibrational emotions as maybe like a toxin in the body, right? And those toxins are collecting our whole lives and we're not moving them out of our body. So can you imagine, eating a ton of sugar, living on McDonald's, eating processed food 24/7, and not having a liver to filter out the toxins and not having a digestive system to flush those toxins out of your body, right? You're going to get a massive, massive toxic buildup in your body. And what's going to happen? You're going to probably have a whole lot of physical problems and get a lot of challenges with disease and inflammation, and just you'll get sick and you'll die. Bottom line. Now, with emotions, it's fairly similar. We just have never recognized the physical health implications of actually ignoring our emotions our whole lives, becoming people pleasers. Women, ladies, I know you're a people pleaser. I know most of you are listening to this because this is one of the conditions that we've all been raised with. But when these heavier emotions get stuck in our body, they do the same thing, right? This toxic load of heavy energy that is stuck in our body and our cells leads to disease. It leads to addictive patterning. It leads to weight gain. It leads to depression. It leads to mental health issues. It leads to autoimmune disease. It leads to cancer. It leads to MS. It leads to dementia and Alzheimer's. You name it. This energetic heaviness that we've carried our whole lives is another major source of toxins that we are not addressing. And I can't tell you how many beautiful stories I've heard, even with actually close friends of mine who have been doing all the right things. They've been eating healthy, they've been hydrating, they've been moving their body, and they still can't lose weight. And as soon as they spent months healing some deep-seated trauma, all of a sudden the body started letting the weight fall off. And there's actually a very energetic and emotional component. I know we're kind of going on a side tangent about weight because I know many of us struggle with that, right? That is a big issue. When weight for many of us is actually a protective mechanism. It's actually our body gripping on to fat cells and not wanting to let them go for some reason. And often this is a very energetic safety coping mechanism. So when we actually learn how to be safe in our body, that we don't need that armor anymore, our body can actually relax. Our systems, our metabolism, our immune system, all the systems in our body start working more effectively when we're not in a nervous system state, an activated nervous system state, which is what's happening when we're walking around with these baggage loads of emotions that we've been storing our whole lives and not allowing to flow through us. Another piece here, right? The more we actually ignore our emotions, the more they're going to weigh us down. So I want you to think of every time you feel sad, every time you feel angry, every time you're frustrated and you don't allow yourself to feel it, you take a deep breath, you move on with your day, you distract yourself, you eat some sugar. Every time you do that, you are adding weight to not just physically your body, but your energy. And you're going to be weighed down. This is where I love Gabor Mate's definition of depression. He describes it as literally just depressing emotions. So when we don't allow emotions to be felt, we start to feel depressed. And I love this because I've seen this in tandem with my work, right? When we actually don't allow the natural flow of emotions, even difficult ones, we also don't allow the flow of joy. We don't allow the flow of happiness. We eventually become sort of these robots where we're feeling blue all the time, we're feeling blah all the time, and we're not really fully living life. Can you relate to any of this? I'm going to take a pause there because that's a lot. And this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to why it is so darn important for us to honor our feelings. And it's important, yet none of us have been taught how to do it. We have no reference for safely feeling our emotions. We have no resources for safely feeling our emotions. And we're conflicted as to how do we actually do this in a world that does not support my emotions, right? Our workplace does not support us being an emotional mess all day, right? They tell you to suck it up, stop crying, Cindy, right? Like everywhere we go, we get the message to suck up our emotions, be a big girl, and move on with life. So we're conflicted, right? We're confused. Like, okay, so Danny, you're telling me this is really important, but everything in me is telling me what I've learned in my life, what I've heard from my parents, what I've heard from society is get on with life, tough it up, be a badass. Don't let things bother you. Let the things roll off your back. Stop taking things so seriously. Don't be so sensitive. Whatever messaging you got. And it's robbing you of your health. It's robbing you of your health, especially if you're listening to this podcast, if you're still listening to this episode, you struggle with your relationship with food. And I guarantee every single one of you listening to this has work to do here. This is a part of the human condition. This is a part of unraveling and awakening to our true selves, awakening to the wisdom of our body, and relearning how to honor what it actually means to be a human and no longer hide our authenticity. And that authenticity sometimes is anger. It's shame. It's deep grief. And that is beautiful. And I want to remind all of you before we shift gears into, okay, well, how do I actually start doing this, Danny? How do I actually start feeling? I hear you. It's important, but I'm terrified and I don't know how to do it because I've never been taught how to feel. I want to remind you before we get to that this, and I hope that this already is starting to sink in, but the journey that I'm talking about here with emotions, especially around emotional eating and around our addictive patterns with sugar, with anything, addictive patterns with Instagram, with wine, with you name it, right? The numbing out that's happening is because we do not feel safe feeling in our body. But the thing here to remember is the goal of all of this emotional work, all of this deep inner work that I do with my clients is not to feel good all the time. That's not the goal. The goal is not to never feel crappy again, to never feel angry, never feel sad, to just feel happy joy all the time. That is not what it is to be a human. I love this quote that sums it up really well. I do not know who wrote this quote, so I'm sorry. If somebody knows, let me know. I would love to source this. But we're not here to feel better. We're here to get better at feeling. And that is really such a powerful, beautiful summation of what it means to be a human, right? We're not here to make ourselves feel better all the time. We're here to just allow what needs to be felt and to get better at actually validating and holding space for ourselves and for those around us with our feelings. And when we do this, your whole life opens up, right? And you begin to notice that you no longer need to binge on sugar at night, right? You no longer need to escape when a difficult emotion comes up, which, by the way, especially according to Gabor Mate, is really the root of trauma, right? Or sorry, the root of addiction. Is these trauma patterns that have prevented us from feeling safe to feel our feelings. And we do everything that we can. We've developed these very strategic coping mechanisms in childhood that have taught our nervous system, taught our body to put a lid on it and ignore the feelings because they were too much and we were not supported with them. We had no tools to actually feel them because they're hard. It's hard work. I'm not lying to any of you. This is hard work. If you're beginning to dip your toe into this healing your relationship with your emotions, it's tough. It's tough because you do have to feel the tough stuff. And when you have no reference for how to do that, it can feel really scary. But I want to remind you before we get into how you do this, I really deeply want to remind you that with some practice, with the right tools, with the right type of support, this isn't that hard, or it doesn't have to be that hard, right? This is the deep inner healing that is mandatory if you ever want to feel free from the shackles and control of processed food, of your binging patterns, of your addictive patterns with sugar. All right. So how do we do this? How do we start feeling? Okay, Danny, this sounds great. I'm ready to do it. I'm terrified, but I'm ready. And I know that I need to do this. This is the next part of my journey. How do we start to do this? And I love that I'm recording this episode because one of the biggest mistakes that I see most women making who start to navigate into this going, oh, okay, so in order to stop emotional eating, I need to feel my emotions so that I'm not hiding from them with food. Okay, got it. But what those women will instead do is go immediately into what else can I do other than eat when an emotion comes up? And what I'm pinpointing here is this distraction techniques that are now no longer food. We are simply just distracting ourselves in different ways. So yes, in the beginning, this can be really helpful, can be really healthy, right? So instead of eating ice cream, maybe you just watch Netflix, right? Great first step, but acknowledging that you're still avoiding your feelings in that process. You're still distracting yourself and escaping from your body. So step one is what we're covering today. I have a 2-step process. There's lots of nuances in each of these with how we actually heal our relationship with our emotions. And like I said earlier, I'm diving deeper into this in the upcoming Emotional Eating Masterclass and the Emotional Eating Program. Of course, we're taking it next level. But there's really 2 overarching themes and steps that are really important. And I call them steps because they need to be done in order. And today we're talking about step 1, which is actually learning how to feel and learning how to be safe connecting with your body, retraining your nervous system that it is safe to feel. This is what we're talking about today. Step 2 is where most people immediately go to, and this is processing emotions. So once we have a good reference for like, okay, I know how to feel my feels, then and only then do we begin supporting our body in moving that energy. So processing being moving that energy so it can flow out of us and not get stuck in our cells. But this is usually where women will completely skip over the step of being with their emotion, learning how to feel. They'll completely ignore step 1, which you're not going to be doing because you're listening to this episode, and jump right into step 2, because processing our emotions is something that we can do, right? We want to be in control. We want to be, it's action taking, right? It's going to a kickboxing class. It's like having a good scream. It's moving your body, right? In some way, moving energy. I mean, there's so many beautiful processing techniques that I teach inside the Emotional Empowerment Program. But I just want to caution all of you to not fall into that trap. Okay. It takes a few weeks to get a good baseline of actually repatterning this deep pattern of feeling safe, feeling your emotions, and knowing actually how to do that. So reconnecting the wires of the body where you can actually feel again. And this is absolutely mandatory if you want to create a lasting new relationship with yourself, with food, and of course with your emotions. Okay, so don't just jump to skip step 2. Please don't jump to step 2. That's a fun step because that is a spot where we can actually get active. We can support ourselves with, doing different somatic exercises and really work at moving that energy through us. But first we need to understand and create the pattern and new belief system in our mind and in our body that it's okay that I feel stressed. It's okay that I'm feeling angry. It's okay that I'm feeling super duper sad today, right? And to be able to be with that emotion without needing to change it, right? I want you to think of your emotions as like a 4-year-old having a temper tantrum, right? Literally all that child needs most times is validation, is attention, is a moment of presence with their caregiver, right? Maybe a hug. They just need someone to be there for them and to be validated, not to be changed, not to be told that they're doing it wrong or that they're not welcome here. They literally just need some space held for them. And that's what we're doing when we begin to feel our emotions. We're saying, hey, anger, hey, grief, nice to see you. How are you doing today? Right? Thanks for coming here. What are you here to tell me? Right? We can even use that as a compass. It's like, what's going on? Why are you showing up today? Oh, okay. A boundary of mine was crossed. And that's why I'm feeling angry. Cool. Now I know that maybe I need to set better boundaries, right? Or I need to, make some changes in my life. So we need to be with that in order to get those insights, right? We need to be with that in order to teach our nervous system that it's okay to feel anger. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel depressed. It's okay to feel like grief, like all of it, all the heavy stuff and the happy stuff. There's a lot of us who are blocked to joy and happiness as well. So this is on both spectrums. I'm just focusing on the heavier emotions today because this is usually where most of the challenging work lies. So how do we begin to do this? Okay, let's get into this right now. So I want to share a couple things with you here today. We don't have time to dive too deep into this. There's a lot of different tools. I mean, as a somatic breathwork practitioner and someone who's stepping into psychedelic guiding and somatic therapy, I have a lot of tools in my tool belt that I'm loving bringing into my programs, into the work that I'm doing with my clients. And I've seen the drastic effects in bringing through emotion and helping create a new baseline for feeling safe, feeling our feelings in our nervous system. So this is big work. I'm saying all that just so you understand this is big work. This is not something that happens overnight. I'm not making you any promises, but I am promising in the upcoming masterclass that you're going to have a beautiful framework and some really potent and powerful tools that you can use in your day-to-day life to begin this process for yourself. Okay, so let's get into the list here. How do we begin feeling? Okay, there's so many ways that we can do this, but highlights for all of you here in this episode. Number one is really first understanding, and not just in your mind, but understanding in your body and in your heart that all of your feelings and emotions are important and equal. I mentioned this earlier. One of the beliefs that most of us carry is that certain emotions are bad. They're negative. We shouldn't be feeling them. Oh, make this anger go away. Make this shame go away, right? These are bad emotions, bad, bad, bad. And we try to cover them up with a fake smile or pretending that we're okay, and we're not. So we really need to begin by reshaping and creating a new belief system, really deeply understanding that, holy smokes, it's really important for me to feel all of it. That is literally what it means to be a human being. And if you need a reminder, go to listen to the beginning of this episode again, all the things that I mentioned about why it's so darn important to feel. So that is step one. Ground one is first believing that this work is important. Believing that, okay, it's important that I feel my anger. It's important that I feel my sadness. And then you're going to start working on your nervous system. You're going to start working on regulating your nervous system, connecting to your nervous system, learning about your nervous system. This is a system in your body that has the stored memory of it is not safe to feel. I'm not safe to be in my body. And we all have an imprint of this shape or form in our own way. And retraining the nervous system to feel okay in stressful situations and under intense emotions is big work. And this is where I'm a massive fan of psychedelic work, of conscious connected breath work that I'm loving practicing with my clients. These are just some of the tools. I mean, obviously somatic therapy, so many tools that we can use here to begin regulating our nervous system. But this is a massive, important part, right? We're working with these beliefs that are floating around on an energetic blueprint in our bodies and in our minds that it's not okay to feel and it's not safe to feel. So we need to repattern those if we're ever, again, this is kind of like the foundation of the emotional work, right? Is, okay, getting connected with, yep, this is important and it's okay for me to feel these things. And this takes practice and time. Every time an emotion comes up, a heavy one, for example, it's taking the time to actually be with that. And even maybe in your mind, reminding yourself, I'm safe. This is okay to feel this stress. It's okay to feel this anger, whatever it is. Right. And through that mentally and hopefully somatic work that you're doing, you get to create this new relationship of safety in your body. The next piece here in how you begin to feel and open up to your feelings again, reconnecting to these parts of your body, is to build an awareness around your unique emotional beliefs and blocks. which emotions are you especially blocked to and why? Really starting to reflect and do some work, hopefully with support around, the deeper wounds that you carry. For example, one of mine was loneliness, like a deep sense of inner loneliness in my emotions as I was a child. I didn't get the emotional validation and the emotional attunement and connection that I needed as a really young child. And that made me feel very alone in my own experience and very unsafe in my body. So understanding these wounds, understanding these blocks, listing these out is an important part of all of this, really learning like, okay, this is okay. And here's my patterns. Here's what's coming up for me. Here's the beliefs I have about my emotions. This is a fun exercise, is listing out like, what does it mean to feel emotions? What does it mean to express emotions? Right? I know for many of my clients, it's things like feeling emotions means I'm weak, right? Or it's absolutely not okay to feel emotions, right? So what is that? And as we get deeper into this, right, a reminder, as you begin feeling, and I'm going to share some more tangible things that you can do on like a day-to-day basis. As you begin understanding that this is not a race, go slow. As you are opening up to feeling, I want you to go really slow. So feeling 5% of the anger, feeling 5% of the grief, not all of it at once, because your nervous system doesn't have reference for that steamroll of emotions, right? When it's all encompassing, it can actually be re-traumatizing to our nervous system because we don't have a foundation yet of resources to support us. So go slow. Allow yourself to titrate, which means just feel a little bit and then come out of it. Feel a little bit and come out of it. This is really, really, really important. So you're not totally blowing the lid off of feeling everything at once that you've never felt. That is not going to serve you. It is, especially if you're doing this home alone and you're not being supported by a trained therapist or somebody who can hold this space for you, you're going to feel very unsafe and you're going to fry your nervous system. So we're going slow, like walking into the shallow end of a pool, right? We're going to walk in slow. And you're going to, in that process, build your toolbox, your resource toolbox. And resourcing that's a term that we use a lot in somatic therapy and in psychedelic therapy, where you have a safe space within yourself to always come home to. For example, one of my big resources is the ocean, being connected to the beautiful ocean and the wisdom there. So if I'm ever having a really challenging time or I'm feeling unsafe in my body, all I have to do is close my eyes and like really hear and see myself at the ocean. And that calms my nervous system. So these little tricks, they can either be physical, a resource could be your favorite teddy bear, right? Or a favorite blanket that you have, or a favorite tea that you have. It could be a person that you can reach out to and feel safe. Or it can be a visualization or an actual physical location, right? Go to the beach. That's one of my go-tos. Go in front of water as a support. So building your toolbox will help you build this network of safety so you know that you're supported, right? So as things get more intense, as you turn that dial up on learning how to feel a bit more of that anger, a bit more of that grief, you feel like you can do that, right? Like I've got this. I can do this because I can come back to my safe space. And that's sort of the quick version of what resources are, resource toolbox. So we want to build that as well. As you can already start to tell, there's a lot of pieces here. There's a lot of work to be done here. So I hope this is not overwhelming you, but giving you just a little taste of some of the magical work that lies in front of you. And it's not something to be scared of. It's actually really beautiful because as you learn to feel more, you learn to also feel more joy. You also learn to feel more happiness. It's just absolutely magical. So in terms of specific actionable things that you can do on a daily basis, when and if you notice emotions, difficult emotions coming up, there's a couple different things that you could do. And actually, as I'm speaking this out loud right now, a reminder that I really want to hit home here is that many of you listening to this do not yet have the connection built where you can feel an emotion in your body physically, because that connection has been cut so young and for so long. So what you will want to do, if that is you're like, I don't really feel much of anything. I don't ever cry. I don't know how to feel these things. Just start by spending some time every single day connecting with the physical sensations of your body. This is the beauty of somatic work. We really tune in with like, what do your feet feel like on the floor? Do you feel any tension in your body? Does your shoulder hurt? So starting to literally just connect with the physicality of your body as a level 1. And level 2, you'll start through that process. All of a sudden you'll start to notice, oh, I feel this like, oh, deep heaviness in my chest. And you'll start to realize, oh, that's sadness or that's anxiety. And you'll start to, over time, naturally be able to connect to the emotion. So start wherever you are, right? There's no right or wrong. There's no bad place. We're all at a different level with this. And it's really about trusting the body. So then as you get into that, whether you are starting with the somatic sensations in your body, or you're starting with actually connecting with emotions, say, your boss just did something that pissed you off. You're feeling really frustrated. You're feeling scared. Maybe you're feeling, a bit sad. There's something coming up for you. And you maybe just get a tiny glimpse of like, ooh, yeah, I'm feeling like really uncomfortable in my body. And you're noticing perhaps that pull to, I just need to grab something sweet, or I just want to have a glass of wine, or I'm just going to scroll on Instagram, right? If you're noticing the distraction pull, that is your opportunity to pause. Stop. This is the hardest part, right? And the best habit, just stop, pause, and take 3 deep breaths. And in those 3 breaths, I invite you to close your eyes and tune into your body. What am I feeling? Either emotionally or sensory in your body. So this practice in itself is massive. If you did this for the next couple weeks, you will massively notice a difference in your relationship to your emotions. So taking those moments to pause and even connect with what's going on here. Oh, I'm super stressed, or I'm feeling absolutely exhausted today. And this is why I'm reaching for sugar. So how we learn to feel is literally creating the space for those feelings to come forward. They're already there. We're just removing that brick wall and we're actually showing up for them. So however you want to do that, maybe that's time in nature, right? Going for a nice walk without distractions, right? Maybe you're doing breath work or meditating in the mornings. Movement is a great one as well, especially if you're moving to certain music that helps bring up emotion. Time and stillness. So this is where meditation is a powerful practice, but it doesn't have to be formal meditation. You can go sit outside on your deck and just watch the birds. Anything that helps you literally connect with your body. Anything that helps you connect with your body and be aware of what's going on in your body is going to help you learn how to feel, right? This could be journaling as well, or talking it out. If you're a verbal processor, maybe it's talking it out in a safe space. Although that doesn't often work because it's going to keep you in your head versus in your body. So if you're talking it out, doing that with a somatic therapist or someone who can keep you in your body without escaping. So these are just a couple ways. And I invite you to explore, think of your own ways, right? Really start exploring and getting curious about, how can I build into my days time and space to allow whatever emotion is there to come forward so that I can validate it, I can welcome it, and I can start to reorient to a new relationship with it where it is welcome. And that is the energy here that takes a lot of practice. It's like, this emotion is welcome. I'm not here to make it go away. I don't need to escape it. It's safe to feel this emotion. So I'm sharing some mantras with you that you're welcome to try on. But this is the energy that we're bringing in and how we begin to really deeply reprocess and reprogram our nervous system and our connection with our emotions. So that's all I'm going to share here. That's a lot. I feel like that was already a lot. And of course, we're going to be diving more specifically into exercises and so much more in the upcoming emotional empowerment the emotional eating masterclass on May 11th. So I want to remind you again, if you're not registered for that, to definitely come get your name on the list. Even if you can't be there live, you are going to get access to the replay. The link is below in the show notes. And we're going to continue this conversation at a much deeper level. So this was your teaser. we'll see you May 11th to continue this work. I'm so excited to actually guide you through some somatic practices that I have found for myself and for my clients. It's been so powerful in helping us reconnect with our body, helping us really feel what needs to be felt and to know that it's safe, especially when we're held in a safe space to do that, which is a really important component of this work. And of course, we're going to be diving into all sorts of other root causes around your challenges and struggles with sugar addiction at that masterclass as well. So it's going to be jam-packed, full day event. Definitely not want to miss this one. This is also going to be the last live masterclass or live event that I'm hosting before I begin making my transition into motherhood. So as I announced in my pregnancy podcast, I will be taking a year off, my first year off, to be with the babe and to be really present in my journey and to, really just soak it all in. So this is it. This is my last the program that I'm about to host. This is my last live masterclass. So I hope that you'll join us so you don't miss this, and look forward to seeing you there. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you're loving what we talked about today, please remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone you love. And if you're ready to dive deeper into discovering your root causes and patterns that are keeping you hooked on sugar, be sure to check out our brand new free workshop series that will help you kick emotional eating for good. Find the link to download this free series and other amazing resources in the show notes below.